Hello Internet, and welcome to my live reaction for Fire Force Chapter 273. When we last left our heroes, Arthur vs. Dragon came to its conclusion, with Arthur using his final Violet Flash Planet Divider to split the planet in two. It seems to be alright though, and splitting Dragon in two. However, Arthur had already been kind of disintegrated from the waist down. And Arthur, after giving one final call to Shinra to finally wake the fuck up, Arthur died. And then Shinra did wake up though, so that's a plus. But yeah, Arthur is dead. So yeah, let's dive right on into chapter 273. He is risen. Following on with the kind of Christ terminology following Shinra. And our picture here is this really kind of like scribbly drawing of a fairy. I'm Faerie the Fae. I've come to play. A pinch of despair ought to ruin your day. And so yeah, we have our scan later page here. And then we open on Faerie. Sort of watching the rising tide of hope in the wake of Dragon's death. And we hear some, like, civilians saying, the cataclysm's dying down. Does that mean we can relax? And Faerie is just, like, shell-shocked. Inconceivable. Dragon. The dragon? Have lost? The great dragon, toppled by a member of the paltry Eighth. The incarnation of calamity, brought low by a whelp. The great dragon of despair shown hope. By that whelp. So yeah, he's just constantly digging into Arthur there. I do feel like it's time we learn a little bit more about Faerie, because I feel like we know next to nothing about him. But he sort of rages, but this cannot be the end of despair. I, of the Cataclysm Force, shall not allow it to end here. Speaking of, we've heard nothing about the Cataclysm Force since their introduction. Like, we've seen Faerie a few times, but none of the other members of this Cataclysm Force. Anyway, Faerie raises his arms to the sky. And we see that, like, it really is starting to look better. And we come back to Company 8. And Obi says, it looks like the Cataclysm stopped for now, but... and Victor says it's likely that Arthur-kun's defeated Dragon, right? Dragon was a powerful member of the establishment. The waning of his despair means the waning of the Cataclysm. But I just don't believe it ends here. And we see Faerie giving us what that cover page promised us, that pinch of despair. More than a pinch, as this, like, aura is behind him. Ye shall all remember. This is what despair is. And we have this zoom sound effect. As he summons the moon. To, like, Majora's Mask the world, I think. But with the moon gigantic behind him, Faerie tries to bring the Cataclysm back. Let the despair begin anew. And the ground starts to rumble. Obi looks around. This shaking. Is this an earthquake? And Joker is so stunned he drops his cigarette. No, up there. And we see the close-up eye of the moon. The moon? And yep, it's fucking Majora's Masking in here. Everyone starts to panic. Yeah, why is the moon so close? And Faerie is just... I'm expecting, though, given the chapter title... Shinra's gonna show up any moment now and just take out the moon, announcing his return to the fray. But Faerie, continuing his completely unscientific gravity powers, is throwing the moon at the earth. I shall rip your hope from its very roots. With this moonfall, ye shall remember the taste of despair, wretches. Excuse me. And as the moon approaches, I'm guessing this is just like the wind caused by the huge speed the moon is, the speed and weight of the moon. But like buildings are blown apart, the trees are like rocking, rubble everywhere. Obi calls, "Take cover!" And Victor just looks around like shell-shocked. I mean, where? And Obi turns to Hinoa and Maki. Hinoa, Maki, is there anything you can do? I guess in the same vein of what they did to kind of blast Dragon to space. Um, at the end of Arthur and Dragon's second fight. Hinoa, but I don't know what they can do here. Hinoa just says, we'll do what we can. Maki, try to alter the trajectory of the moon. Roger. I'm not quite sure what that will do. Because either way, like, it's always been really, really unclear how exactly what Faerie's powers have to do with fire. Because all Maki can do is sort of manipulate fire. She's a second gen. So I don't know what she's going. Maybe I don't know. I don't know. I have no idea what she could accomplish. And she looks up at it. Come on, you stupid moo, moo. And she just stares the moon in its eye. Moo. And she just hits the ground, like, back first. Like she lost a staring contest with the moon. Ugh. And she tries to get up. Hinoa runs over to her. Maki, are you alright? And Maki yells, you think you can squash me? Gotta push back. And she's apparently trying to, like, counter whatever flame gravity thing Faerie uses. She's trying to push it back. We see her nose starts to drip blood from the exertion. And I think she's losing completely. Its overwhelming mass is crushing me. And then we cut to Company 1 as Hoyan calls to Kareem. Kareem, can your thermoacoustic refrigeration do anything? And Kareem is like readied his weapon. I'll figure something out. And then he looks at it again. Something? But what? And back with Company 2, Honda says to Juggernaut, Juggernaut, can you shoot it down? It's out of range. But by the time it's in range, yeah, even if he blows it up, it'll just all kind of fall to the ground. And Honda kind of looks down in defeat. And he gives his, like, ready-to-die speech. Gentlemen of Special Fire Force Company 2, it has been an honor serving with you. We are hereby relieved of duty. All that's left for us is to pray for those we care about. Yeah, this is the moment for Shinra to come in and restore hope. The hope that Arthur fought so hard for. The Company 2 mooks all can just say, Captain, thank you. And then one of them notices something, and he looks up in shock at something flying towards the moon. That's my boy. That's Shinra right there. And Faerie kind of continues his evil monologuing. No matter how many ye bring, it cannot be stopped now. Ye shall all be crushed like ants. And then we see the moon get closer and closer as Faerie looks up in utter shock at something, we still can't quite see what, though we all know what, approaches the moon and hits the moon, lands on the surface of the moon with a clang. And we see a foot, and it's Shinra. And I love this panel. It's a very kind of sort of stylized Shinra drawing we get sometimes. He's like all angles in this. And I just love the perspective here. It's just a great panel. But yeah, Shinra is back. My son is back. And he pushes back up against the moon with a roar. Urgh! And Faerie, stunned. The fourth pillar? How? And Sho appears right behind him, also revived, and tells Faerie, I've got bad news for you. My brother has returned. No matter how immense the despair, these brothers will quell it. Shinra and Sho battle to save the world. To be continued chapter 274, The Savior and the Guardian Angel. Okay, this was a fun chapter. I mean, I will say, again, Faerie's powers make no sense. I said that back when he fought Sho that first time. When was that? Was that pre the Real People twist? I forget when exactly the moment was. Yeah, because I think it's, I'm scrolling through the chapter titles, I think it's An Aerial Struggle, which would have been 213. Yeah, that sounds about right. Just clicking through it. But yeah, even way back then, I was like, this makes no sense. Nothing about this power makes any sense in the world of Fire Force. But whatever, let's accept it and move on. And in that, this is a perfectly fun chapter. I will say, no offense to this chapter, but it's definitely like the weakest chapter we've had in weeks, which admittedly is not exactly saying much. The last like 10 or so chapters have been top tier for the genre, let alone the series. And it was just a treat to read every week, and this is not at that level. It still works. It's still good. The build up, the like it's kind of the entire Cataclysm arc in microcosm, but with Shinra instead of Arthur. The despair builds and builds and builds, and for the first like 20 chapters of the Cataclysm, and then Arthur kind of defeats Dragon and quells the despair, and now Faerie, not happy with that, brings down the moon so that Shinra can now kind of pick up where Arthur left off and quell the despair by pushing back the moon. It's all pretty good, though it also is very it's perfunctory is the best word I have for it. Like, it's not really special. It's just sort of like, it's the thing that brings Shinra back. That's really why it's important. The actual dropping the moon is not so important. It does give us some great moments. I love Maki's kind of struggle with the moon. I love Honda's kind of, this is our death speech. That just always hits. That kind of thing always hits for me. And then, yeah, we have Shinra ready to restore hope, and Sho arriving to have a rematch with Faerie, which honestly I'm excited for. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. Next week, even with Faerie's powers as ridiculous as they always are. But yeah, Shinra's back. Sho's back. What this means for the other pillars, we don't quite know yet. I could see like Shinra waking up and then waking Sho up, and maybe Iris. I don't think he would wake up really anyone else. Certainly not Haumea or Inka or Sumire, who is already awake, or Amaterasu. Like, maybe... Did I already say... Maybe I couldn't say Nataku either. Nataku is also too young, I think, for Shinra to want to really add him to the battle. He still probably will join the battle in some way. But I don't see Shinra doing that to him. But yeah, all in all, this is a pretty... After everything Fire Force has been doing the past few months, this is pretty light, I will say. But it brings Shinra back in an epic way with him kicking the moon. And again, I just love that full-page panel of Shinra, his feet against the moon, shoving it back by sheer force. It's just good shit. It is just good shit. Fire Force, even when it's not Arthur Dragon, is just good shit. So yeah, that's all I gotta say for this video. Hope you all enjoyed the chapter and the video itself. If you did, feel free to drop me a like or subscribe, do whatever makes you happy, And remember, your life is your own, okay? Bye!